thedailymass.com. Experience the Roman Catholic Mass from historic St. Louis Cathedral every day on thedailymass.com. His love, anywhere in the world.
Good evening, I'm Sarah McDonald.
And I'm Jason Angelette. Welcome to Issues in Faith.
Well, we want to first start off by wishing all of the mothers out there and your wife Elise a very happy Mother's Day.
All mothers, happy Mother's Day. Beautiful opportunity to give thanks and appreciation towards the mothers who have done so much for us in our lives.
That's right, and you really, I even tell my 2-year-old now, you're not going to know how much I love you until you have your own children.
Yes, yes.
And it's you know, it's one of those things when you have that love that a mother has for their children. It's really incredible. And when you see how much the blessings that I know that I've received from being able to take care of God's gifts to me and my 2 children, you know, and my mom always said that it's you're not mine, you're on loan to me from God, so I can give you back. And so I live, now that I'm a mom, I like to live by those words for my children and say, you're on loan from God to me. I have a huge responsibility to form you in your faith and then give you back to God at the end.
Well, happy Mother's Day to you too.
Thank you
It's
so
a wonderful opportunity again to say thank you, and just everybody who just does a great job of just putting forth their love and their heart and their time to the young, and it's beautiful. So happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Now, as we talk about Mother's Day, we do have some news, other news that has come up in the Archdiocese with the release of our strategic plan for Catholic schools. And so I wanted to make sure our viewers knew that we were doing that happened this year. The full plan can be found on the Catholic Schools website, which is ocs.arch-no.org. We invite everyone to view it. Dr. Lancaster and I taped a program of Our Schools, Our Future earlier this week. It's going to air every Tuesday for the month of May, and I believe also for the month of June. Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. We do go into a lot of detail about the strategic plan. Some of the high points is we're going to be putting a renewed emphasis on Catholic identity in our schools. There are 2 staff people at OCS charged with going into the schools, each and every one individually, and looking at their mission statement and how they're living their faith, incorporating the NCEA, the National Catholic Education Association, benchmarks for Catholic identity in each school. That's a very important part of the plan for us. We have 2 curriculum experts on staff now who will be going into each school individually and working with them on best practices and professional development for teachers to ensure that we're always striving for academic success. And then the biggest, most tangible thing that the public will see that we announced this week in terms of the strategic plan is a uniform grade level structure that we're going to be going to with all of the schools. All of our elementary schools will now be from pre-K through 7th grade, so pre-kindergarten, whether it's pre-K3, pre-K4, pre-K2 in some instances, through 7th grade, and all of our high schools will be moving to an 8 to 12 model. That is not going to happen next year, obviously. We're in May now. Schools will be submitting plans in the fall, finalizing their plans in the spring, and then have the next 2 years to implement those plans on their campuses. So hopefully, the hope is that we will have those everyone operating under the uniform structure by the 2015-2016 school year. That's
beautiful. And the whole thing is that this thing wasn't just, you know, someone coming up with some ideas and putting on a piece of paper. Like, this was a collaborative effort. This was an effort of hearing and listening what's going on from different perspectives, from the teachers, the students, the families, to the results, the statistics and whatnot. So it's as it says, a strategic plan that was put together to move forward Catholic education, to help it grow and to help it flourish in its mission of forming not only the mind but also the person. That's right, and I think that's a very important part, the mind and the heart of the person, and putting children first. Yeah. You know, we really wanted to make sure that the ways we're moving forward, we're putting children and families first. And even the grade level structure, where it might seem like it could put a burden on some families at some juncture, we wanted to make sure that all of our students were having the same opportunities at the same grade levels. And so
we really were putting children first in how we move forward with this plan, just as God would call.
Well, what if someone has like some hesitation, like they're maybe hearing us right now talking about this, or maybe they go on the website and see some things that maybe they might not agree with. How can they kind of voice their maybe opposition, or just maybe help to clarify the points so they can understand better and go forward with everything?
Sure. I would first encourage anyone who has some concerns to talk with their school principals or their school leadership. In some instances, it may be the school president who's taking calls. Talk to your school leadership about what's going to go on, how it's going to directly affect your school. And because the principals, the school leaders are having really good conversations with the Office of Catholic Schools right now. And so if you really want to get information to the Office of Catholic Schools, obviously their phone number is 504-866-7916. You can call them, talk to our superintendent directly, or to an associate superintendent who may be able to assist you. But really, we want people to take ownership of this. The community had a large handprint, as Archbishop Amen said when he unveiled it. He had a large handprint on how this turned out. And so we're really grateful for all of the commitment that people made to this planning process for the good of Catholic education.
Praise God.
Well, as we are in the month of May, a month dedicated to Mary, our Blessed Mother, Pope Francis is giving global Catholics some simple instruction. Say the Rosary as a family, because prayer strengthens families. In a reflection after leading a public praying of the Rosary, Pope Francis said Mary, like any good mother, wants her children to grow and to grow well, and for that reason, she teaches them not to give in to laziness, but to take responsibility for their actions, to commit themselves to projects and tasks, and to hold on to their ideals. He added that by her example of saying yes to God, Mary also helps Christians make lasting commitments using their freedom to do good and to follow God's will.
The Catholic bishops of Louisiana are asking Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal and the Louisiana legislature to accept Medicaid expansion for the benefit of the common good of Louisiana citizens. In making the request, the bishops reiterated their stand against parts of the Affordable Care Act, particularly those that mandate coverage of birth control, abortifacient drugs, and abortions, but stated that an opportunity exists through the acceptance of Medicaid expansion to enable those without health insurance to be covered justly. The complete statement from the bishops can be found online on the Archdiocesan website.
Well, Blessed John Paul II has returned to New Orleans in a special way. An exhibit at the New Orleans Museum of Art focuses on that time a quarter of a century ago when the Pope came to visit here in New Orleans. Featuring photos, personal items, and original artwork, the exhibit reminds and reconnects visitors with this great man of faith. Janet Gross has the story.
It's called Portrait of Faith, John Paul II in Life and Art. A look back at the 1987 visit to New Orleans.
For us who remember him, it is an opportunity to relive the historic moment, to recapture what he said and who he was for us in New Orleans, and also to remember the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hearts that he touched by his presence.
It's a trip back in time. It's a spiritual journey. It's a look through the eyes of artists at a lasting legacy.
Was being very emotionally overcome, and almost this ecstatic experience of creating, it was something that I was really investing my emotional being in.
Definitely it was Archbishop Amen's vision. He really wanted to do something for the people of New Orleans to bring back that feeling of what it was like in 1987. Yeah, I think sometimes we forget as things go on. He wanted to remember that joy. He wanted to remind people of the joy.
The Archdiocese, the New Orleans Museum of Art, and the Museum of Biblical Art in Dallas partnered for this exhibit.
First and foremost, this is an art exhibition, and we feature three major artists. Gibbs Singleton, who's created his version of the Pope's Crozier. The second artist is Frederick Hart, who created the Millennium Cross that was presented to John Paul II. Back in 1997, and we have a number of his works here and derivatives of that Millennium Cross. And then the third artist is artist Fred Villanueva, who creates these gigantic murals that includes John Paul II.
And the photos from three local artists that walked through the visit from beginning to end.
If you want to come in and just see beautiful art, come see beautiful art and be touched by that. If you want to see holy objects, we have holy objects. If you want to see the pictures from a historical perspective and just remember his visit, we have beautiful photographs. So there really is something for everybody to be touched about.
Actually, leaders from several different faiths were there for the kickoff of the exhibit. Another reminder of Blessed John Paul II's message of love and peace that crossed faiths and nationalities.
You literally get to meet him through the artwork here, through the photographs, and then there are also these little different artifacts that are sort of touchstones, like this chair behind me that he actually used at the Superdome, and you'll feel as if you're connected to John Paul II by seeing some of these little heirlooms.
He was born with it and died with that headboard, which is the same one that John Paul used. And then after he died, I brought it back to the residence, and I use it in my bedroom.
Personal artifacts, items made for him and because of him, even a Marvel comic book about him, and an action figure. There are also special local treasures like this monstrance made from jewelry and personal gifts from the people of the Archdiocese 75 years ago. You can still make out earrings and rings that were donated. These are all images that move memories and hearts and bring to mind the man who made history with his grace and presence. I'm Janet Gross for Issues and Faith.
The Portrait of Faith exhibit includes narration and audio remembrances as well. The exhibit will be at the New Orleans Museum of Art through June 16th, and we'll be right back.
The science of learning is an imperfect one, but Louisiana Catholic schools have consistently instituted a formula for success. An astonishing 95% of Catholic school students go on to college. And last year, they brought with them over $185 million in scholarship awards. Shouldn't you invest in success and the confident leaders of tomorrow? Louisiana Catholic schools, in a class of their own.
Following some of the challenges of helping victims of Hurricane Isaac, Catholic Charities Archdiocese of New Orleans saw a need for more interpreters to aid those affected by the disasters to apply for the assistance they need. Joining us tonight to talk about the new initiative of the local church are Danielle Smith and Shala Lavera. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm very excited because the response to the volunteer trainings has been really, really successful. But I want to hear a little bit about exactly what the initiative we're undertaking right now is.
Well, what we wanted to do is organize a group of volunteer interpreters that can be activated, especially during disasters. Starting with Katrina and Gustav and Isaac, we have seen decreased demand on this type of volunteers. Now, usually they'll turn to the Hispanic apostle and say, no, oh my God, there are Hispanics in this area. What do we do? Send us your staff. And we in Catholic Charities, and especially Hispanic Apostolate, has always responded with their own staff and trying to bring people from the community. And we did that for Isaac, and we were serving for, I don't know, like 10 days, and we had like over 40 volunteers who showed up, especially at the DSNAP centers, but the need is beyond just that. So we wanted this time around to be a little more prepared and start recruiting volunteers early on, and not just send people who are bilingual, but just making sure that they are the adequate type of volunteer and train them so that they will know what are the expectations, what do they have to do, and give them some of techniques of what an interpreter does and how you should interpret. So that's the purpose of the training.
Great. Well, who are you looking for? Who can be a volunteer, and are you looking for specific languages beyond Spanish, as you mentioned, Hispanic Apostolate?
Yeah, anyone who's highly proficient in English and then another language, who would like to volunteer in times after a disaster, they can attend the training. We're looking for any languages are welcome, any spoken languages. Sign language, that would be a different program. Sure. But for any spoken language, anyone is welcome. The languages we have the highest need for are Spanish, Vietnamese, also Portuguese, Haitian Creole, Arabic, Chinese, and Korean. So those are the languages that we know we have populations that speak in our area. But of course, any language if you have any second language skills.
Sure, and I know you mentioned all the storms that have come through, but even with the BP oil spill, we saw some populations come to the forefront of needing assistance and needing to apply for assistance, and so I know this would be helpful then. But what will be expected of a volunteer, as we were talking about disasters? What kind of ongoing training will they have, or and what kind of other projects and programs will they be working on with you all in Catholic Charities throughout the year?
Well, right now we're creating this core that can be activated at any disaster. But no, we are usually called to sometimes help with helplines at some of the reception centers when people who had evacuated are coming back in. Will probably be activated before the storms to make sure that like at the pickup centers, there'll be a few places where if they have an interpreter that we can send, they'll know that there'll be somebody there that speaks the languages. And also sometimes when we're doing press releases and stuff like that, we just want to make sure. And with the oil spill, I think that just really highlighted the need, and we were very fortunate to be able to actually had an interpreter corps. We had 4 interpreters, for oil spill, and we had a very high demand on the Vietnamese and the Cambodian community. We were really privileged to be able to serve them adequately, but we wanted to continue that. As a volunteer during disaster, you just really have to be flexible. A disaster is a disaster. You really don't know where you're gonna be sent. But as part of the challenges and the joy of serving is just a little bit of that. There's an uncertainty, but there's so much need that it's just very rewarding to be able to serve in any capacity.
Sure, and I can imagine just having lived through Katrina, Gustav, Isaac, the oil spill, there has been so many times that people have needed to apply for need or apply for assistance, and have great need. I know how difficult it can be for those who are native English speakers to go through all of the bureaucracy and the red tape, and that's stressful. I can't imagine how stressful it must be if this is not your native language and you're in an emotional state, how difficult it must be to go through these processes.
Right, and that's what with the training we're hoping to prepare the volunteer interpreters for, like Shella mentioned, for the challenges that might come up so that they can best assist the people that need it most in that time. And because we never know when a disaster is going to strike, we have to be ready beforehand and not wait until it happens and then try to train people on the spot. We're trying to give them as comprehensive a training as we can in the areas that we think they'll need it most.
Sure. Well, talk to me a little bit about the trainings. I mentioned on the onset of our interview that you're almost full for these trainings. Tell me a little bit about, number one, the sessions that are coming up, how many people are going to be taking part, and what will be going on during the trainings.
Our first session is actually going to be this Saturday and Monday. So each session is over a 2-day period. So we have, they're going to be a total of 6 hours, 4 hours on the first day, and then 2.5 hours on the second day. So the first session is Saturday, May 11th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then the second half of that, or second part of that training, is Monday evening, 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. That's Monday, May 13th. Okay. That session is actually, we have 21 people registered, and our capacity for the space is 22 people.
Wow.
So we have room for one more if anyone wants to get on board with that one right now, but it's going quickly. And then our second session that we have planned is Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So Tuesday, May 14th and Wednesday, May 15th. Tuesday it'll be 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and Wednesday it will be 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m.
And is there a cost for the trainings, or
no cost? Yeah, it's completely free, and we're actually going to we'll have lunch provided on the day that's the longest. On the 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. we'll include lunch and have coffee and the materials for all the students. They'll get a manual that they can take home and use for preparation for future reference, and to keep working on the training. We'll provide resources for that too.
Great, and you mentioned these are almost full. We talked about, as we were preparing for the interview, even some college students who weren't available to come to these trainings because of the exams they're going through right now. But you have more plans for the future.
Yeah, this was just the first training, and we wanted to see what was the response. But what we really want is to build a large core of people because when a disaster happens, you don't know who's going to be here, who evacuated, who stayed. So we need a large pool of people who can be activated and send into the response. So for example, when we were interpreting for the DSNAP centers, it was like every day from 7 to 7. So we need to organize shifts, and people can only volunteer for a couple hours. So we need a large number of people who can respond, so we can assign and have fluidity. So the more the merrier. So after these first trainings, we're planning to have maybe some summer trainings to accommodate for some of the college students, and then the plan is to continue doing them. One thing that we want to point out is that becoming a volunteer interpreter is different from being a certified interpreter. That's a whole other skill. This is community interpretation, meaning we know that these are not professional interpreters, but there's just people who are providing a service the best way that they can with some training. What we are offering is not going to certify them to become health interpreter or a court interpreter that have to be addressed differently. But no, as far as the community services that we need, this will be adequate for them.
So people who are interested in the training, how can they find out more information?
They can email me. My email address is dsmith, dsmith, @ccano.org. I can send them more information. I can let them know, anyone who's interested, I can tell them as soon as we schedule our next dates. We're going to have one in June, and then Ashella mentioned some more later on in the year as well. So they can email me or they can call me directly at 504-310-6913, and just let me know that they're interested. They can get more information, ask questions, find out more about the program, and
great. And we always, when we're on Issues in Faith, try to drive people to the Catholic Charities website, which is just ccano.org, and I know there'll be more information available there.
And they can also follow us through Twitter or Facebook. Margaret has done a wonderful job at posting all the trainings and all the information, so it is a very practical way of finding out when anything is coming up and about. We also had recently an article in Clarion, and they're very supportive of us, so they'll post anything. Or you can also look at the church bulletins. We're making sure that that everybody in church knows of this training.
Well, very good. I'm so happy that you could join us tonight to talk about this important ministry and opportunity for those in the community who have a certain skill set to be able to give back, especially in a time of crisis, for those who are in need. So thank you both for committing yourselves and your professional lives as well as your personal lives to this important work.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
I'm here today inside historic St. Louis Cathedral, a place where WLAE has broadcast the daily Mass for more than 25 years.
A recent PBS ruling ensures that this valuable service will continue on WLAE for those looking for daily inspiration, and for the many who are homebound or in our area hospitals who can't attend Mass. But in order to continue to provide the Mass every day, we need your financial support now more than ever. I'm asking you to please consider donating today. We have numerous partnership opportunities available. For as little as $32 a month, you can help fund the televising of the Daily Mass, a program that lifts the spirit and enriches the lives of so many of our viewers. And for a donation of $50 or more, we will send you this beautiful signed poster of St. Louis Cathedral as our gift. Please send your contributions to WLAE TV, 3330 North Causeway Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana 7002, or to donate online, log on to WLAE.com and click on the picture of St. Louis Cathedral. For more information on partnership opportunities, call 504-866-7411.
At WLAE, we've worked hard to keep the Mass on the air. Now we need your financial support to keep it going. I know that you'll help us if you can. Thank you, and God bless.
Hundreds of youth and young adults fill pews of St. Catherine Drexel Catholic Church to ask for God's help in the fight against violence. Each year, the young people themselves put on a revival, but this time around, they wanted to add a Mass and take a stand. Janet Gross has the story.
This one they put on all by themselves. A revival, a gathering of young people committed to Christ and to each other. The Imani team, Teen Cross, those involved in the youth and young adult ministry in the Archdiocese join hands and voices.
Well, this year, the young people that put the revival on wanted to do a mass against violence to address the issues that are affecting our communities because they're losing peers and family members in the violence that's going on in the streets.
Something has to be said about it. Our voices need to be heard. Some of the people that were killed, the young people, they were our friends, and we just want to know that, you know, we care.
Through skits and music and memories, they say it their way.
We shouldn't be hurting our brothers and sisters. Today becomes a symbol where we come together, make our commitment to our city that we can be a peaceful city.
Many of them have been personally touched by violence in the streets. They know someone who cannot be here, who can no longer speak out, so they choose to use their voices.
Yes, there is a hope. If everyone comes together and do the right thing and have a mindset to stop violence, there is a hope. There's a real great hope.
And so this Mass, their idea.
Sometimes we have to move out of the way and let the young voice speak and lead us as well. Just as we want them to follow us, we need to follow them as well, because God speaks through all of us.
We stand before violence in so many ways. But it is good for us to be here. Because here in this place, the Lord transfigures us. He manifests to us the power of His love.
And they're looking to the Lord for that hope and power and the strength to face the streets.
Some people don't think it's wrong at all, so it's kind of hard to stand up because you may never know what's going to happen to you. They may come for you next, so you never really know what to do about it.
While recognizing that it can be difficult to stand up to violence, they also realize standing together can make it easier, and standing on the right side.
He is the overall savior. He is what we are all here for, why we're here. And so we have to stand up for him and with him to say that you need to have God in your life, for you to realize that you need to open your hearts and your minds and your soul just to him, to say that, you know, that violence is not the answer, such as Dr. Martin Luther King said, violence is not the answer, and that's not a godly thing to do.
In these young hearts and minds, they realize the answer isn't a fight against violence, it's love against violence. I'm Janet Gross for Issues and Faith.
A lot of people teamed up with the revival, among them the CYO, the Office of Black Catholic Ministries, the Isaiah 43 program, Crime Stoppers, and NOLA for Life.
If you have a question for us or have an idea for a story you'd like to see on air, please write to us at Issues in Faith, 3330 North Causeway Boulevard, Suite 345, Metairie, Louisiana 70002, or email us at questions@wlae.com. Plus, if you miss an episode, you can catch up online at www.archdiocese-no.org. And that's our program for this evening. For all of us at Issues in Faith, thanks for watching.
We'll be back next week. Hope you join us again soon. Until then, God bless, and again, happy Mother's Day.